Привет! Hi everyone, it's Ellie and I just came back from my trip to Australia. And today I'm gonna talk to an Australian who lives in Russia. I'm really curious about that because I've never met Aussies in Russia, let alone Aussies who moved to Russia and to Siberia in particular. So, привет, Джастин! Как дела?
Да, очень хорошо. Как у вас?
Отлично. I didn't realize you spoke Russian. Actually, I just came back from Australia. I've traveled like almost all the East Coast. By the way, which part of Australia are you from?
I'm from the West Coast. I'm from Perth.
Perth! Wow!
Yeah.
It's like the most remote city of the world.
Yeah? I think I heard something like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's the city where I didn't reach, just so far.
Well, next time maybe. It's only 5 hours by plane.
Well, it's kind of far. Because at first you need to fly 20 hours to Australia.
Yeah.
And how did you end up in Russia, Siberia?
So I think in 2013 I was invited to come on a building trip. We came over, it was a few people from Australia, a few people from Canada, and built a church here. A church building. And then we met a few friends and helped. In 2014 we came again to help some of our friends build a house. So that's how that's how I kind of found out about Russia and visited and made friends here originally. And then we came again in 2017 in winter. So over New Year's, and then from that time we started to seriously think about moving to Russia.
And when did you move?
We moved here in 2019, I think.
So it's like 4 years now?
Yeah.
And why did you decide to move? And how did you choose your city? It's quite unusual choice, even for Russians, you know.
Yeah. Everybody says, "Why did you move to Novosibirsk?" Like, it's got to be like one of the worst cities to go to. But it's cold, and Novosibirsk is a dirty city, I would say. Compared to like even Altai, like we went down to Altai. A lot of like around there's a lot cleaner even. Yeah, it's quite dusty here. But the main reason we came to Novosibirsk is because we had friends here already. It just makes it a lot easier with moving. To have people here that can help you.
And when you were living in Australia, what have you heard about Russia? Maybe some stereotypes, or what idea of Russia did you have before coming?
Yeah, so I hadn't really heard that much about Russia, just that obviously the Cold War. I read a lot of like military history kind of books and stuff, but it's all like very Western slant. So Russia was always the enemy. It didn't really go into why, just that they were. And then obviously with popular culture, a lot of movies, if it's a spy or something, it's a Russian. And
so spies,
you might have noticed that.
Cold War, stuff like this. And weren't you afraid to go?
And then was I afraid?
Yeah.
No, not really. No, I'd heard lots of stories, but that it could be dangerous, and you need to be careful. Like the police might stop you and ask for documents at any time, and you could run into trouble. And I hadn't really heard anything that was. Yeah, I'm not somebody who gets worried very easily.
Mm-hmm. And when you came to Russia, were these expectations met, or it was completely different from what you expected?
It was a lot different. I think the generalization is that Russia is a communist country. Most people I knew, and even still today, a lot of people I talk to, they think Russia's a communist country. So I guess, and a lot of people, even like on our channel, we have a lot of people comment and say, where's the bread lines? What's going on? I thought, they still think it's the 1990s or something like that.
But why do they have this idea? It's so weird. I mean, it's so outdated. It was so many years ago, back in the Soviet Union. I mean, they don't read the news or history or don't learn at school.
Yeah, I think part of it is that people just don't really. A lot of people only care about the world they're living in right there, and everybody wants to feel like what they're doing is the best option, so they don't look, much further than their own backyard. And then also a lot of media will paint Russia or China or other countries that have a different approach to government or living. They paint it as a inferior way of living, and so people just like if you go to America, they think America's the greatest country in the world. If you go to Australia, people think Australia is the best place to live. They like to think that way, and then when they hear these other stories about Russia or even China and places like that, they have a bias to want it to be true. If other places are worse, then their place must be better. So I don't know. But definitely was not the way I expected it to be. Another thing that people quite often say is that Russians are unfriendly people. They're not friendly. They never smile. They're really serious, and like maybe on face value on the street you might think that. Like if you meet a stranger and you walk up to them, in Australia you might be able to go. You might just be able to say hello to anybody, and be friendly, and you'll get a friendly response back. But here people are kind of like, why are you talking to me? Like, to start off with, once you've got past that initial response, people here are quite friendly. They just seem a bit more suspicious, maybe.
Exactly. In Australia, when you smile to a stranger, they smile back. In Russia, they get suspicious, like, why is he smiling?
Is there something I don't know about?
Yeah. But why did you... So you went to Russia several times, and why did you decide to move?
We decided... so we're Christians, and we decided that Russia was the best place to raise our children the way we believe God wants us to. So that was why we moved here.
You have 2 children, yeah?
We have 4 children.
4! Wow!
4!
Yeah.
Wow!
Our youngest was born in February.
Okay. And your children go to Russian schools, so they need to speak Russian, yeah?
They do need to speak Russian, yeah.
Wow. And in your family you speak English, and your kids in school...
We mostly
speak Russian?
we mostly speak English, but we're trying to speak more Russian in the house. One of the problems we have is that because our Russian isn't very good, we don't want to kind of, I don't know, say things the wrong way. So we try and stick to things that we are confident in saying. But that's growing all the time. So as we get better at speaking, we'll switch more and more to Russian.
So you can speak Russian, yeah, and communicate well, and you have Russian friends.
I can communicate enough. As in, I can talk enough to hold a conversation, but it could be better. I work. I had been working for a while, and obviously there it was. I was working as a, what do they call it? A delchik? No, a delke. Ремонт квартиры.
Repair.
Repair.
Yeah, it doesn't translate very well into English.
Just ремонт квартиры.
Yeah, so like fitting out new apartments. So putting in the floor and the tiles and walls and stuff.
So your children, I guess, just started to speak Russian naturally because they're in the environment.
Yeah, and they really like to talk Russian. So it's like, to start off with, they would just they'd say a few words that they know, and then babble on in like just a Russian accent, but not saying anything at all, like making up words to start off with, and then as they learn more and more, they actually they have conversations between themselves, like.
For them, I think it shouldn't be a problem because they're in the Russian-speaking environment from the very childhood, and they will they don't need to learn Russian as a foreign language. I guess it will just happen naturally.
Yeah, well, like they're still learning English at the same time, so it's like they. Yeah. For them, it's just words to communicate an idea, and whether it's Russian or English, they don't even need to understand. It's just, that word means that, and that's how you say that, kind of.
And you said that you just came back from Altai, right? Have you been to many places in Russia? Which ones are your favorite?
No, unfortunately, I haven't been many places. Where have I been? I haven't even really been to Moscow. I've been to Moscow once. Obviously, we flew through Moscow a couple times, but I had to go there once for passport for one of our children, and I was there for a day, but that was just to get the passport, so I didn't even really see it.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
St. Petersburg?
No.
Oh.
No. Well, yeah. We just kind of. It's just not been very. Things have just happened at the wrong time. We actually got invited to go to St. Petersburg, but we had a lot of document issues to sort through right at that time, and we weren't able to make it. So we didn't get to go to St. Petersburg. We want to go to all those places, but basically we've only been to Altai, Kemerovo. Yeah, no, I think that's it. In Krasnoyarsk. We've been to Krasnoyarsk as well. I think our favourite place, well, I don't know, it's hard to choose a favourite, because for us, we've only been a few times, and I think I choose favourite based on you have memories associated with those places, so people you went with or time period. So when we came in 2016, over New Year's, that winter, we went to Krasnoyarsk, and then Divnogorsk is a little village out on the outside of Krasnoyarsk. It's a really pretty place. That's a really nice place. Yeah, we really like mountains and open spaces. So
It's really unusual, like from Perth to Novosibirsk. Do you miss the ocean, or what things do you miss about Australia?
well, I miss my family the most. The beach was, yeah, that was a nice part of Australia. We didn't live far from it, so you go there often. Also, most of the year you can go swimming. So yeah, that was nice as well. Um, yeah, the ocean's quite different. We talk about it sometimes. Like maybe we'll go to Sochi or somewhere down there, Krasnodar area, or Crimea, somewhere around there.
Yeah, but you also live close to the Eastern Ocean. I mean, like Kamchatka, and in Vladivostok you can also go to the beach.
Yeah, we've got sorry if I keep looking off screen. We've got a map on the wall here of Russia, all the different areas. I'm looking at it, trying to remember where everything is.
Yeah, Crimea is like so far. I think for you it's closer to go to Kamchatka.
I just heard it was warm there. That's
Well, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, yeah.
that was the main reason for that. Because like if you go straight north, there's probably we've been swimming a few times. We swim in what they call the Ob Sea here. It's really just what's it? The Ob Dam.
Was it difficult for you to adapt to the climate? Because in Australia it's so warm all the time.
Yeah, not
With the different.
I don't think we really had that much trouble with it. Obviously, there's some like little things that you have to be careful of. The hardest thing is having children because, like with yourself, you can tell when you get cold and you do something about it. But your children, you have to, you know, you don't know how cold they are or if they're getting frozen, stuff like that. And also, like if you want to, like as far as convenience goes, if you want to go out for a walk in Australia, you just go for a walk. Even in winter, like if it's cold, you're probably wearing a jumper inside anyway, so you can go straight from inside to outside, and it's not that much of a big deal. Whereas here, you want to take the children on a walk, you have to get them dressed, like into all their jackets and mittens and beanies and whatnot. It takes a lot of time compared to just being able to walk straight out the door. That's probably the biggest thing as far as the cold goes. As far as like for me personally, you just buy a good jacket, a beanie, or like I've got an Oshanka, good pair of mittens or something, and it's go outside -20, -30 is starting to get cold. -20 is pretty okay. I had my car break down at -20. I had to fix it out in the yard, and that's probably the worst thing about the cold is like just trying to work on a car. All the little plastic bits break at that temperature. Like you have to be super careful, and then it's not convenient to grab little bolts and things with gloves on, so you have to take them off. But then like it almost like burns your hands. It feels like when you touch anything. So,
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
In Russia, it's about like you need to deal with cold. In Australia, for me, it was hard because every time you need to think about the sun, and how they say in Australia, you need to slip, slop, slap. Like all the time, you need to put the sunscreen.
I think the best thing you can do for the sun is like cover up, like with clothes or something. That's the best. Sunscreen's not really that good. Like I did a bit of research into it, and like they say that it's good for 4 hours, but after an hour, the chemicals that are in the sunscreen make it so that it would be worse than not having sunscreen. So you're best just like wearing a light long sleeve or something. I never wore sunscreen there.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, like when I was little, I did, but like I worked on in construction, and I never wore sunscreen.
Yeah, my friends would always put sunscreen and remind me. Yeah.
Well, your different people's skin reacts different, so your skin type will probably burn easier than mine, maybe. Yeah, I noticed that I had a friend that burnt like super easy. She had a similar complexion.
By the way, do you find Russia cheap? Because I think out of all the places where I lived, and I lived almost in all parts of the world and traveled a lot, I think Australia was my most expensive life and travels ever, especially for the rent.
Oh, the rent. Yeah, rent there is ridiculous.
Yeah, it was almost like 500 Aussie dollars to pay for a week.
A 1 week. Wow. Oh, you were on the East Coast, weren't you? I suppose it depends on where you live, yeah. Yeah.
And it was for a room and not an entire place.
It was just a room.
Yeah.
One room. Wow.
Well, now all the
What was it, though?
Aussies also complain that rent is like ridiculously expensive.
Like I haven't been there for 4 years, but it was like considered expensive then as well.
They say it's because of COVID.
rented a room. Because of COVID?
After COVID, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
I was shocked.
Yeah. $500 for a week's pretty steep, yeah. Wow. For just a room. Like I remember looking at places and you could get a whole house for $400 in Perth a week. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's long-term rental. I don't know, like if it's shorter term, I don't know. But what it would be. My brother rented a room for $150. But it was in a suburb in Australia, not like a very touristy spot. If you wanted to go and see stuff in Perth, it was a bit out of the way.
I see. Yeah, well, Australia for me was super expensive.
To answer your question about whether we find things cheap here, if you came as a tourist, you would say things are cheap here. Yeah.
And living.
Like if you came from Australia, you were making money in Australia, and then you came here, you would say it's cheap. But if you make money here, like off of say the average wage or something here, then comparatively, it's like it might be a little bit cheaper, but it wouldn't be much. Like I don't even know if it would be cheaper.
Okay, fair enough. So when you get salary in Russia, it doesn't seem cheap anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't seem as cheap. Like food might seem cheap, but no, food doesn't seem as cheap. Maybe. I think to live, like all the stuff you need for just basic living, so like food, rent, heating, all that kind of stuff, is affordable. But if you want anything like that you could consider a luxury, then it's quite expensive.
And what about rent?
Like I guess a big house is probably like 50,000 rubles a month. So
that's pretty good for a house, I think.
Well, here in Novosibirsk, it is. That's about 1,000 Australian dollars a month, so 250 a week, and that has a yard, 600 square meter yard. Oh no, 300 square meter yard.
Yeah. And what are the things that you like about living in Russia?
I don't know. I haven't really thought too much about what I like specifically about living in Russia. I think I don't know. Even when I was in Australia, we moved around a lot. When I was younger, I don't really think of this place that much different than Australia. It's like you live here, you have friends, you do life. I don't really think about it.
Perth and Novosibirsk are not much different.
Hey? No, like obviously there's differences, but like as far as like life, you get up in the morning, you have breakfast, you go to work, you work, and then that the general kind of life doesn't change that much. Obviously, the location's a bit different. I think you can talk about anything you want here without having to worry about whatever the social kind of norm might be, or not necessarily even social norm, but like what the current new thing is. You can just say, mostly whatever you want. Yeah.
In Australia, you can't.
Well, you can, but like at least in my group of people that I knew, you had a particular, there was what was generally expected. So you wouldn't, yeah, I don't know. I think it's easy to generalize a whole country off of just one person's experience and get it completely wrong. Because you have friends with a particular view, similar to yours, but or at least a worldview that's similar.
Yeah, I'm asking what you like about living in Russia because I found Australia such a nice place for life. It is super green. I liked the mix of urbanization. It's like super modern, clean, nice cities. At the same time, it feels like living in the wild. I mean, they're so green, and Australia is just such a nice place for life. That's why I was wondering why you decided to move.
I guess you could say it's like political, social, maybe reason then. As far as that goes, but yeah, because like for us, we're thinking about our children and what the future's going to look like for them, and the way we see Australia heading, it's becoming a lot more restrictive on what you can teach your children, what you can, basically what you can teach them. And there's becoming more and more things that you have to teach children that we think are wrong. So it's certainly not good to teach children anyway.
Okay. So you said things that you like about living in Russia. Are there things that you don't like?
Things we don't like. There's a lot of rubbish here.
Rubbish, like dirty?
Yeah, like people just throw stuff on the street or that kind of thing.
Yeah, actually I've never been to Novosibirsk.
It might just be Novosibirsk, yeah. Yeah. Australia's a lot cleaner, as in there's less of that kind of thing happens.
I felt like Australia was so clean, like anywhere you go, even some village, like yeah.
Yeah, most of Australia is very clean, I think. But like when I went to Moscow was pretty clean.
Moscow is super clean, yeah. Well, I would say big cities are clean, so I'm actually surprised to hear about Novosibirsk.
Maybe different areas are cleaner. Like if you get to like richer areas, maybe it's cleaner there. Because they want to keep their neighborhood cleaner, so they don't throw rubbish on the wherever. Or yeah, I don't know exactly why it's like that, but I do see a lot of people like they don't. I don't know if there's just not the facility to like the service to facilitate getting rid of rubbish. Like on our street, basically, so like in Australia, I don't know if you noticed this, but there's like everybody has a bin, their own bin, and then, or I think it's twice a week, a truck will come through, and it comes and picks up the rubbish in the bins. So you just put it out on the street. The truck comes past, picks it up, and it's just like a. I don't know. Did you see the bin trucks in Australia? They've got like a little arm. It comes out, grabs the bin, and then like dumps it in the thing. Yeah. So here, there's no bins that I've seen. If there's a bin on the street, it's because somebody wanted to put their rubbish. Like I'm talking specifically our area. So like because we live in houses, right? A lot of people live in apartments. So in the apartments, there's like a big bin. But I can't really compare apartment living because in Australia I didn't live in an apartment. I don't know how they dealt with rubbish there. But the bins are. So on our street, they only have a bin if somebody decided to make one themselves. Otherwise, on rubbish collection day, people just put a plastic bag or whatever bag it is that they put their rubbish in. They stick it out on the street. And that would be fine, except for there's a lot of stray dogs in our area and cats and things like that. And they rip it all apart and then you have rubbish everywhere.
Yeah, sounds like very bad organized.
I'm not like complaining or anything, but that if I had to pick one thing, that would be it. I can't think of many other things that really bother me.
Well, yeah, that actually sounds very bad. I think people need to go to the committee or somewhere in the city to explain the situation or do something. Yeah. I don't know how much it all costs. Like, obviously everything has a cost. So if you know, even in Australia, all that has a cost. You were saying that housing is expensive, but you know, there's rates and they all take care of those kind of things. So that when you pay your rates, that's your rubbish collection and all that kind of thing. So that all adds to the cost of housing. So, you know, it's not a simple solution, I don't think. Any other things that you don't like about life in Russia, or in particular Novosibirsk, Siberia?
No, not really.
People usually complain about roads in Russia. What do you think about roads?
Oh, the roads. Yeah. Yeah, well, the roads can be bad. They can be bad, yeah. We've had a lot of roads built in our area, like resurfaced, but even in Australia, like where my parents live, they live in a small suburb in like subdivision in Australia. And when there was a lot of construction happening, even there, like it was a good road, but all the trucks driving over it, especially in summer, it would just wreck. The road would be completely destroyed. Like they'd have to come and fix it. Obviously here it's not, the heat's not so much of a problem, but the cold and the water, I think maybe drainage could be done better, but like I couldn't suggest how to do it because I don't know how they deal with the cold and freezing and stuff. But
yeah, every summer they fix it, then in winter it's frozen, and in spring it's all bad again, and then in summer they fix it and it's never ending.
And it just feels like maybe there would be a better solution. Like maybe if they fixed drainage, like the water on the road, maybe it would last longer, but it's a big infrastructure project to actually do. I know in some parts of Novosibirsk that where they're putting new roads in, they're actually putting drainage in as well. Maybe that will fix it. But yeah, roads is a big problem. I've heard people talk about, like, in America as well, they're having like big problems with roads now as well. So I think anyway, back to your question about about, like, things I don't like about Russia. The roads, they're quite rough in some places. Yep. And it's not just a comfort thing, but your car wears out quicker, like your suspension and stuff like that. And like we had one incident where a car disappeared into a hole.
Into a hole?
The road just
into a hole?
Yeah, the road collapsed underneath the under the car. The car just drove into a hole. Yeah.
In Novosibirsk?
Yeah.
Oh my god. I mean, it's not funny, but oh my god.
Well, I think in that particular instance it was okay. I don't think anybody got hurt because it just kind of went straight down. But there was another one where I saw recently. There was a hole, and they drove like into the hole like that, and they might have gotten injured. I didn't read whether they got injured or not, but yeah, there's a few things. But I think a lot of it is to do with drainage. Like if you don't have good drainage, then the water goes under the road and washes it out, and because the bitumen stays together at the top, you can't tell there's a hole there until all of a sudden it's not strong enough to hold anything anymore and somebody just drives through it.
Okay, and except rubbish and cars falling in the hole, what do you think about Novosibirsk? Are there many opportunities or places to go? What do you usually do there?
So Novosibirsk, since we've moved here, or since I came in 2013, Novosibirsk has changed a lot. Like, even our area where we live, it's kind of considered a dodgy area. It's improved a lot. It's changed a lot. There's a whole, I don't know how many it is, maybe 50 different apartment buildings that weren't there in 2013. It's like a whole little like tiny city right there. And there's like ice rinks and stuff that we used to play on. We play hockey on them in the winter. As far as like things to go and see, they've just built a like ice hockey arena, a brand new one in Novosibirsk. That's pretty fancy looking. It's not open yet, so I haven't been inside. So that'll be something to go and see. There's a lot of museums here that are pretty good. We went and saw the Sovietsky, what is it? Can't remember the name of it, but it's like an old Soviet history museum. So it's got two parts. There's like a vehicle one, like old Soviet cars. It's got the limousine that Stalin drove in. It's got like anyway, that's that museum. That museum also has like a museum for like a part for like what houses looked like, what schools looked like, what all the stuff that was in schools in the USSR. What else? There's a park called Mir Park or something. We haven't been there, but a lot of people have told us it's quite nice. There's Yeltsovsky Park, which is a really nice park. Lots of trees there. You can hire a bike or a scooter or something and ride around. There's also, they have like a program for teaching children about trains or driving trains there. It's like a youth education program. So people might send their children there to learn about that, and then they'll become train drivers and technicians and stuff.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's a really nice place. They also hold like ski competitions, skiing competitions, cross-country skiing in that park.
Oh, was it your first time to go skiing or maybe ice skating in Russia?
Yeah, ice skating I actually did first in Australia, but skiing, yes, I did skiing first here. But I haven't been like downhill skiing, only cross country. Yeah, I still got to try downhill skiing.
Yeah, you should try. It's so different and so nice.
Yeah.
Even I heard I don't know about Novosibirsk, but in Krasnoyarsk it's very popular. There are mountains and...
In Altai they have a ski slope as well in Belakurka and maybe Gorno-Altaysk. In Novosibirsk you can go, there's like a small slope right near the metro. There's like it's a small slope, just goes down towards the river. A lot of people go skiing or snowboarding there. But other than that, there's a place that's like just out of the city. It's about an hour's drive out of the city. You can go as well.
Yeah, Novosibirsk is quite a big city actually. And you said that you went to Moscow for passport, so you made citizenship, yeah? Yeah.
No. No. So basically, like the current system at the moment is that if our child gets born here, it doesn't get Russian citizenship. So we have to.
Really?
Yeah. It will get a Russian birth certificate because Australia won't give you a birth certificate for a child born in Russia. So you get a Russian birth certificate, but then Russia only gives passports to like if the child's born here. I think there's only a couple of countries that have an agreement with Russia where if they're born here they can get citizenship. Australia is not one of those places, especially now. But so the process is you get your Russian birth certificate, then you get that translated to English, and then with that you apply for Australian citizenship. Like for us, it would be Australian citizenship. If it was somebody from another country, they'd have to apply for their citizenship. And then once we've got our citizenship certificate, there we are, then we can apply for a passport. And at the time, you could only get that by going to the you'd have to drive, no, not drive, but you'd have to go to the consulate in Moscow, the Australian consulate.
So you have a citizenship and you need to apply for a passport, or...
Yeah. So you have to have proof that you're an Australian citizen before you can get the passport.
But it's just your Australian passport, isn't it a proof?
No. So it's for our children, not me.
So you need to go to Australia first?
No. So we get our Russian. So the child's born here. You get Russian birth certificate.
Yeah.
Then with that, you get it translated to English, and you send that with all the parents' details. So my details, my passport, and proof of that I'm living in Russia, stuff like that. You apply for it's called citizenship by descent. So it's basically saying that your parents were Australian, so you're Australian. You send that off. They send you out a certificate to say that your child is Australian. And then with that certificate, you can apply for Australian passport. But when I had to go to Moscow, at the time, you had to go to the consulate in Moscow or St. Petersburg. For me, it was Moscow, to pick up the passport. No, not to pick up the passport. They have to do an interview, an in-person interview. And at the time, you had to do that at the consulate. So I had to travel to Moscow to do the interview. But now, since COVID, they do it online.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah. It's better in some ways, but I was kind of disappointed in other ways because I would have liked to go to Moscow again.
Wow, this whole process seems very complicated here to get this passport and...
Well, yeah. It seems complicated the first time you do it. After that, it's just like, takes a long time. So once you know what you're doing, it's just a matter of you do this step, then you do that step. It's, yeah. Immigration is very annoying.
So now you're planning to get this passport in some time, yeah?
Yeah, so now, so I've done it 3 times. Well, this is the 3rd time. So we've had 3 children in Russia. The first time was our son, and I had to go to Moscow for that one. Then it was COVID, and our daughter's one I didn't have to go to Moscow. And now we've got another daughter, and I have no idea what what will happen now. Every year seems to be different.
Yeah, but I meant for you, like not your kids. For you, you just have.
Russian passport.
You already have it.
Russian passport. I don't know. We still have to get a Russian. We haven't got Russian citizenship yet.
You're on work visa or?
We're on permanent residency.
Was it difficult to get that one?
Yes, that's a whole story by itself as well, yeah. It was crazy, because when we came to Russia, we came on student visas. And back then it was possible to get a student visa for, I think it was a year. You get a year, well, you get a 3-month one to start with. And then within a certain time period, you could extend it to a year. And then every year you had to extend it again. So you'd put in a form and you'd apply and you'd get it extended. But the good thing about that is that the school organises most of that for you. So we came as student, like we, man, I have it so that my English vocabulary is shrinking. Enrolled. That's the word I was looking for. Enrolled in a Russian school, Russian-speaking school. School of Russian language. Yeah. So, but now you can't do that. You can't just enroll in a language school. It has to be a university.
Overall, I heard that now it's very difficult because I have 2 friends from Australia who are planning to come to Russia for Christmas and spend winter, but now I think they stopped to receive applications even for tourist visa since mid-March.
Yeah, Australia's probably, like if you're American, you might be able to get to Russia easy enough on a tourist visa or something like that. But Australia is like a hard country to come from now. That's what I've heard, yeah. Yeah. We're not big enough to be important, and, they're counted as a unfriendly country, so it just becomes harder.
Yeah, that's very sad. So do you have any regrets after moving, or you prefer living in Novosibirsk?
Well, we won't be living here long. We're going to move soon, so...
Where?
Altai.
Altai, nice.
Nice.
Yeah, we're going to move down there. But as far as regrets, not really, because the reasons for moving here haven't really changed. There's a few things that are like a bit sad, like obviously like my wife's parents, like her family are here in Russia, but my parents and my brothers and sisters are all in Australia still, and we don't know if we'll ever see them again. So that's kind of sad. But apart from that, not really any regrets.
What kind of advice would you give to foreigners who also moving to Russia?
If you have any kind of like bank account or some kind of service that you need to access still in Australia, you need to make sure that you don't need a mobile phone, like a phone number, to access it. Because once you get here, it won't work, and you will be stuck.
Actually, I was shocked about this too because my phone didn't work in Australia.
Yeah. No, it's a big thing. I actually, because we had been to Russia a couple times before, I knew it would happen. So I was able to change a lot of stuff like that while I was in Australia. So you just have it so that it's, I think there's like a Google code generator, or different apps have their own code generator. So you can have that as your second form of authentication. As one of those, and then or like email or something, as long as it's not a phone number.
That's actually the greatest advice. Yeah, it's true. I also faced this a lot.
And it's really difficult to fix once you're in the other country. There's almost nothing you can do. I had a couple of instances with like banks or financial institutions, and you can say you're in a different country, or like you could say you're still in Australia for everything, but then they try and get you to they'll put, as soon as you put your phone number in, they know you're not there. So yeah, and because they'll send you an SMS code to verify that you actually have that thing. There is ways around it, but it's quite difficult, and it's better to just
it's super difficult. True. Any other advice?
That's one of them. That's one of them. The other thing is, like, any documents that you're going to need translated, or like you should have all your birth certificates, marriage certificates, basically any like personal official documents need to be like translated. I think if it's I think even apostilled, so you'll have to get it sent somewhere to get official translation and official Australian stamp to say that like this is the original copy of this document. I know we had to do all that. What's another thing? It's become a lot harder for some things because, for instance, if you wanted like to move here, you'll need police clearance, and it has to be within 3 months valid. But with postage times and stuff, that can be tricky. So you need to be like super organized with that. Another thing that you need to check is that the names on everything match up. So like if you have a slight different spelling or something somewhere, if you try and do anything here in Russia with a slight, so like say on your marriage certificate you had a different name than on your birth certificate, you have to have a reason why that changed. On our marriage certificate, it doesn't say why the name's different. And so we ran into trouble with that. The only reason we got around it is because we had a child that had an Australian birth certificate, and on there it says that the maiden name was this, and then current name is this. So there's like proof that so like my wife's name changed when we got married to my surname. All her documents have that name on it, except for the marriage certificate has a different name. And so they go, well, this person doesn't have any children.
Yeah, actually my British friend in Russia faced really lots of troubles and headache just because of one letter in her name was different, like Katerina and Yekaterina.
Yeah, that's a big one. You have to sort that out before you move here, because once you've moved here, you can't sort that out. And for some people, it's not even possible to fix it. I don't know what they do here, but like we had it with our our son's birth certificate. We didn't speak very good Russian at the time. It was like, what was it? A couple of months after moving here, he was born. Like 4 months after moving here or something like that. And so we had a friend help us with the birth certificate. They spelt the name wrong on the birth certificate, the friend that was helping us. And we didn't notice it straight away. And then we applied for his passport, and I didn't think to make sure that they were the same. So I put the name in for the passport, and we got the passport back, but then the birth certificate had slight different name for it.
Yeah, that counts as different names.
Yeah.
Even my Russian friend had a problem just because his surname is Tkachov, and you know the yo letter, and in some documents it was just yeah without dots, and yeah.
And the thing is, if you fill it out on a computer, not every computer has the option to put that on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is something that you are definitely going to run into. If any kind of discrepancy in your documents, and they won't accept it.
Yeah, so sort out documents before the trip.
Yeah, it's just two different people. So yeah, that's really the main things I would say are super important. Everything else you can work through. But if you get here and you haven't sorted that out, it's going to be a big problem.
Yeah, I think that's the main advice and very important ones. Yeah, any other advice?
Yeah, any other.
Maybe things to take or to be ready for.
Well, it depends. Like if you're moving here, you're going to get a lot of stuff here. Like if you needed a jacket or something like that, it's probably better to buy it here. I suppose it depends. If you want to buy expensive kind of clothes, then maybe buy that. Say if you're coming from Australia, buy it there first, and then move it. But it's expensive to ship anything from Australia to here, so you're better off just buying it here. And like things like clothes, which you're gonna need for winter, they take up a lot of room, so you know you're better off buying that kind of thing here.
Yeah, and it's cheap in Russia.
The clothes are a lot cheaper in Russia.
Can you find clothes for like really cold winters in Siberia in Australia? Can you find this clothes?
It depends. It depends what you. If you want to find like a really good jacket, that might be harder to find. But like if you wanted to find a pair of winter shoes, or you wanted to find mittens or something like that, you can find a lot of that stuff because there's camping and hiking stores that cater for people that are going to travel the world. So you can find it, yeah. You can't find it because it's not as readily available, and it is just for tourist kind of stuff. It tends to be more expensive. For like thermal underwear, that kind of thing, so like your base layer, you can get really good stuff in Australia. Yeah, because they have because I bought mine over there. It wasn't cheap, but it was really good. It's like a 100% wool, merino wool, thermal layer. Not everybody likes wool. Some people find it's a bit itchy, but it didn't bother me. When it comes to cold, a lot of people like to think that if you put like more socks on, you'll have warmer feet. But it's not true. If you have too many socks on, it compresses the insulating layer in the shoe, and your feet get colder.
Yeah, I think it's just about having the right material and yeah. So when I came over, I had in Australia they sell a sock called Explorer socks, and they're really good socks, but they're quite thick. They're very thick sock. And when I came to Russia for winter, I bought like 100%, or maybe no, it wasn't 100% wool. It was like 80% or 90% wool. Actually came from New Zealand. Actually, the sock, but it was like a wool sock
and it was quite thin, but my feet were warmer with that than they were with these other, like, what you would normally think a thicker sock is warmer, but because the materials weren't as good, wasn't as warm.
Yeah, it depends on the material.
That's really it. You're gonna have to buy, like, if you're gonna walk around in winter, you'll have to buy winter shoes.
True. I saw some foreign people in Moscow, like in sneakers in winter. I was shocked.
Well, there's people wearing sneakers here, like in Novosibirsk in winter.
Yeah, but I don't understand because it's freezing.
Yeah, some people just like to look a certain way, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's cold. The other thing is, like, not all shoes have they use a different material for the winter ones. So, like, you might find that your like, because it gets really, really cold here, quite often the sole of the shoe will freeze up and it will become super hard and slippery. So you actually need to have a different, you have to have winter shoes because they have a different material on the sole. It's a softer rubber.
Yeah. Well, now it's April in Novosibirsk. I mean, it's April, and how is the weather now? Is it still like winter, super cold?
Well, it's cold today, but we did have like some 11 degree, maybe 16 degree weather the other day. But when we left here, there was a lot of snow covering everything. We had a big, huge pile of snow out the front of our house, and when we came back, so it had been just 5 days, and the pile of snow had shrunk. Probably it's at least half the size now, and most of the backyard is visible now as well. Yeah, today was cold though. It's probably -5 or something maybe today. Yeah. So
already
it's kind
not
of that,
too cold after winter.
Yeah, it's not too cold, but I find that when on the shoulder seasons, so like spring, like the beginning of spring, autumn, because it's wetter, it feels colder.
Yeah, that's true.
It's damp. Yeah, so it feels colder for some reason. Yeah, because like -20, if you dress okay. We don't dress very well. A lot of people tell me I should wear a scarf, but I just don't like them. If it's really cold, I'll wear one, but usually I don't bother. So I'll just stick a jacket on, make sure like I tuck my t-shirt in, and stick some. I've got some like they're really for like hunting, maybe hunting boots. They're like leather boots with like fur on the inside. Yeah, so like for around here, if I'm just walking around here, I'll just stick those on. I got a big jacket, and then a ushanka, and that's good enough for -20. As long as it's not a big wind. If it's really windy, then it might get cold. But then like this kind of weather, because it's damp and it's a little bit windy, you wear the same thing, but you get cold. It's like, what? How did that happen?
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much, Justin, for telling about your experience and giving advice for people who would also maybe move to Russia someday.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you guys for watching. And you can find Justin's YouTube channel Backyard Russia in the description. And пока-пока!